Hello, dear compatriots. Today is February 10th, it's 5 o'clock, and today we are preparing our first broadcast, as it is Saturday, but at the same time, since the Security Summit is taking place in Munich, there are very interesting and important meetings. There are very important announcements present in any case, meaning overall there isn't much information like on a regular workday, but at the same time we have very important and interesting announcements and meetings. From Munich, it is important to note and perhaps start with news related to Armenia. The Prime Minister of the Republic of Armenia, Nikol Pashinyan, has had very interesting and important meetings in Munich. We talked about yesterday's meetings, and today as well. Interesting and important new meetings have taken place. Pashinyan met with Germany's Chancellor, Olaf Scholz, and they discussed bilateral relations. Germany, Armenia, as well as issues related to the region, the prospect of deepening relations, and so on. Naturally, it is very important that such meetings take place, not only with Chancellor Olaf Scholz, but also with the Prime Minister of Norway. Nikol Pashinyan's meeting also took place, and during that meeting, bilateral relations with Germany were discussed. I think we should pay special attention. We should approach these meetings with importance, as in recent years, Germany's foreign policy has gained significant importance for the whole of Europe. If previously, especially before the Russian-Ukrainian war, Germany, in general, was conducting a relatively passive foreign policy compared to the current active foreign policy of Germany, now Germany is very active and important. It has become a very active player in Europe and Armenia. Deepening relations with Germany is extremely important, especially when you look at the Munich meetings and see what significant meetings are taking place in Munich between Nikol Pashinyan and leaders of various countries, as well as the important meetings the Armenian Minister of Defense is conducting, for example. Today, Suren Papikyan also met with the Minister of Defense of Cyprus. They discussed both bilateral and trilateral cooperation enhancement. This also refers to Greece. It took place with the Minister of Defense of the Republic of Lithuania, Suren Papikyan's meeting, as well as with the Minister of the Kingdom of Norway, with the Minister of Defense. The meeting, and all these meetings suggest one thing to us, that Armenia has started a very active policy, has begun to conduct foreign policy, and previously, if we were satisfied with only Russia, going to Kazakhstan, Belarus, and a few countries, mainly within the CSTO framework, now already in Munich, when the Minister of Defense of Armenia or the Prime Minister of Armenia goes to Munich, it is much more important. And they have interesting active meetings there, meaning that the meetings in Western formats are quite interesting and rich. When acquiring for Armenia in English, and this naturally raises Armenia's visibility for the international community. Armenia's connections with different countries, especially with developed Western countries, which naturally cannot but affect Armenia, on the strengthening of Armenia's foreign policy positions in terms of defense capability, I believe it will definitely also impact Armenia's economy and energy system in the future, as such connections and meetings enhance Armenia's visibility. New active connections are established, and existing connections are further activated, strengthening Armenia's stance. It becomes more understandable in the international arena, and all of this naturally has very important implications for us, and therefore these meetings, even if the message is they don't talk about the matter, they are very small with minimal information. Nevertheless, I think they are extremely important. Policies and the dynamics that exist now in Armenia's meetings within Armenia's active foreign policy speak volumes. It is also important to note one thing, that during these meetings, special attention is paid not only to bilateral relations, but also the Armenia-European Union relationship, the deepening of Armenia's relations with the European Union, and the fact that Armenia has recently started to express itself more clearly regarding the European Union, and even the parliament confirms that Armenia accepts the European path as the main path. This speaks volumes, and it is now much easier for Armenia to negotiate with various European countries, especially regarding Armenia's European perspective. That's all about Armenia, but before turning to international issues, I must mention that a meeting took place between the Foreign Minister of Turkey and the Secretary of State of the United States. I had informed you about this, dear compatriots. But at that time, we did not have information that issues concerning us were also discussed. In other words, we said at that time that issues related to the Middle East and Ukraine were mainly discussed. Now it turns out that in today's report, it is already included. It was also discussed that issues related to the South Caucasus were addressed. And once again, Marco Rubio spoke about the necessity of establishing a dignified peace in the Caucasus, the establishment of a dignified peace. This is very important, considering the fact that when a phone conversation took place between Filani and Marco Rubio, at that time as well, between the Secretary of State of the United States and the Foreign Minister of Turkey, Marco Rubio, he specifically spoke about dignified peace in the South Caucasus. That is, in this regard, it seems that the position of the current administration of the United States does not differ from that of the previous administration, and both administrations clearly speak about dignified peace, which is, of course, extremely important for us. Let's also talk about Ukraine, as well as the relations between Europe, the USA, and the United States. We have not yet addressed the speech of the Vice President of the United States, J.D. Vance, at the Munich Security Conference. I should mention that there are various opinions regarding that speech. Some say it was a serious criticism directed at Europe, while others have noted that, on the contrary, it was a very important statement, and he spoke about the need for Europe and America to become more united, to come together more. In fact, there was criticism directed at the European Union, when some noted that he was speaking about the worsening situation, not to expect it from China and Russia, but from within the European Union. Because there is a democratic backslide, there are issues related to freedom of speech, and these were the values that united Europe with the United States of America. There was indeed criticism directed at the countries of the European Union, but there was also a desire for mutual understanding to occur. Let me mention the main contradiction. In reality, why is almost no one talking about this? I don't know why they don't talk about it openly, but the issue is that the Trump administration wants to have different partners within the European Union, a different team, partners, and this is mainly the team that has been formed within the leadership of the European Union. And when in different countries, whether it be Germany, partly the United Kingdom, and possibly also France, although it seems that Macron, in comparison, unlike the United Kingdom and Germany, has a much better relationship with Donald Trump. We see that Hungary has a good relationship. Orban celebrates with Trump and always tries to support Trump. This means that from all this, a clear impression is created that for Joseph Biden, there were very convenient authorities in various European countries, and they understood each other very well, also in terms of values. However, for the new administration's new authority, there are different approaches regarding different countries, and this also indicates the fact that Musk had clearly criticized many times whether the Prime Minister of Great Britain was very rude and direct, or Germany's Chancellor Olaf Scholz, and I think there is a serious issue here, a problem of mutual understanding between Europe and the United States. I think the same issue exists with Ursula von der Leyen and possibly with Macron as well, and so on. It might also be possible with Zelensky. Why not, since it seems that the relationship with Zelensky is not developing very well and deeply either between Trump and Zelensky, and I also see that statement as a subtext in the CSE, specifically that, but in a global sense, I do not think that the United States is abandoning European countries, because Pete Hegseth, the US Secretary of Defense, has announced the number of certain US military bases. The number of troops in Poland will be increased. This is also a very important message, not only to Russia, but also to the European Union and here as well. We see why this is being done, also in terms of Poland. Not only from a military perspective, this is important for the United States, but on the other hand, it clearly indicates that the United States is saying, look, we have a very good relationship with Poland, a relationship that we currently do not have with almost any other country within the European Union regarding Ukraine. An interesting statement was also made by von der Leyen, and in general, Germany's position is clear that the G7 should not allow the return of the Russian Federation. What Donald Trump was saying in this regard seems to be clearly rejected following Donald Trump's idea. Zelensky clearly notes that his meeting with the Vice President of the United States was very good. The discussion was about water diversion, and according to him, they discussed and he insisted on the idea that everything must be done to stop the President of the Russian Federation, Vladimir Putin. Vladimir Zelensky mainly focused on this issue. It is also very important to mention one thing that Vladimir Zelensky did not sign: the document sent by Donald Trump, which required Ukraine to allow the export of special metals to the United States. This concerns the export of special metals worth $500 billion. According to various sources, that document did not include any provisions regarding the United States' stance towards Ukraine. Security commitment, meaning Ukraine is striving for such a document to include a technical commitment that the United States would be obliged to ensure Ukraine's security. And interestingly, there has been another intriguing statement regarding Ukraine. Germany has a good chance to damage, suggesting that it is even possible for Germany to declare a state of emergency to be able to assist Ukraine more from a military perspective. This was also discussed, as I mentioned yesterday, by Ursula von der Leyen and Antonio Costa. In other words, the leaders of European countries who are key players are saying that aid to Ukraine should become more clear, more serious and more organized, and the main burden of aid should now fall, or rather Europe should take the burden of aiding Ukraine on its shoulders. Europe must take care of Ukraine's security, as it directly relates to Europe's security. An interesting statement was also made by the former Prime Minister of Great Britain, Boris Johnson, who has a very good relationship with Volodymyr Zelensky. He said that it is time for some in Europe to stop panicking over every issue and to decide to provide more serious aid and support to Ukraine. The NATO Secretary General expressed himself in a similar fashion. He also stated and reiterated that Europe should stop complaining and should develop more concrete plans in order to effectively support Ukraine and propose specific detailed programs. These are the main statements that have been made today and also yesterday, mainly at the Munich Security Conference and not only at that summit. And from all this, we can conclude that Europe is in a state of panic, celebrating Trump's announcement and his interaction with Vladimir Putin. It's true, there are complaints and serious disagreements between the United States and the European Union, but at the same time, the United States and Europe remain allies. And now they need new concrete ideas to properly support Ukraine, as well as already. I already mentioned that there are also internal struggles, as all powers have their supporters in different countries, and Trump also wants those forces to come to power, for example, in Germany or the United Kingdom. This is what I imagine saying, but I am almost certain of my words, which are much more suitable for celebrating Trump. I also think it's important to mention here that significant tariffs have been imposed on China. Celebrate Trump. The largest tariffs in history, and again, the main direction of the struggle is being led, already directing towards China and the main economic. At this moment, the economic adversary for the United States of America, for Donald Trump, or rather for the administration, is becoming China. China is becoming that adversary. Regarding Georgia, there are also a few important things to mention. The main point is that today marks the 83rd day of those large-scale protests, and a larger-scale protest is planned in Tbilisi at 6 p.m. Besides them, the detained journalist Jamal has been on a hunger strike for quite a long time, which has also made his condition extremely critical, and at any moment his condition could worsen. Regarding Armenia, the policy of the new administration of the United States is still uncertain. No matter what anyone says, at this moment I have not seen any specific statement from the new administration of the President of the United States concerning Georgia, and considering the tension and the internal struggle that exists between the United States and Europe is already becoming difficult. I find it hard to say what kind of policy the United States will have towards the government of Georgia. I repeat, there has been no new statement, and generally no statement, since Trump's departure from power. Regarding Georgia, at this moment, we mainly have this. Dear compatriots, I urge you to definitely like, as always. I would also ask everyone who is not subscribed but enjoys watching the new channel or encounters our channel for the first time and receives important information and analysis through our channel to subscribe. I definitely urge them to subscribe. And thank you to all those who have already subscribed to our channel. I would also ask you to support our new English program, which is translated through artificial intelligence. I believe that I think the translation has improved a little. True, there is still some confusion with names, there are errors in rediscovering pronunciation rules and signatures, but overall the translation is turning out quite successfully, and in that regard it is also very important to there should be various types of support, whether financial, so that we can continue and develop this program in the future, as well as support in the form of likes, comments, and subscriptions. All this support and all these types of activities are extremely important for our channel. That's all for now. Good luck to everyone, and we'll meet again.